the top of this card, you have two great flyweight title fights. You have Valentina Shevchenko taking on Jennifer Maia. You have Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Alex Perez. And Matt, if you're Brandon Moreno, you got to be pissed off about that. Because Brandon Moreno, the assassin baby, a guy I've been on many MMA shows. Many, because it's not been a ton, but many. And I've been saying by the end of 2020, the assassin baby Brandon Moreno is going to be your flyweight champion of this world. And unfortunately for my sweet, sweet Brandon Moreno, that opportunity got stolen by Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby. Okay. And listen, not to say that Alex Perez didn't deserve the shot, but Brandon Moreno had some pretty quality wins, and oh, by the way, at the time was ranked higher in the division.
Okay, so when Craig gets me onto a fighter, I fully admit it. Like Petr Yan, Craig was way more early on him than I was. Brandon Moreno was your boy's favorite fighter for years. And then all of a sudden, Craig was like, hey, this Brandon Moreno guy, he's actually pretty fun to watch. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. Now, does Craig do more podcasts and is he more famous than me? Yes, he is. But I've been on this Brandon Moreno train for a while, and I do really like the development of his skills because we have seen him improve as he's fought in the UFC. A lot of people remember his first UFC fight was on short notice against the ranked Louis Smolka at the time, and he not only beat him, he finished him by submission. And yes, you can beat Louis Smolka. I'm not going to deny that. But to beat him by submission and you know how good of a grappler he is, it's a really impressive way to make your UFC debut.
It's almost like when Brandon Royval came in on short notice and took on Tim Elliott, submitted him. So pretty impressive debuts. And for Brandon Moreno, he's not the type of guy to go sit in a corner and cry and whine about his opportunities, because you saw him leave the UFC, go to LFA and take a fight, get a win, and come back into the UFC. So you know he's battle tested. He's a guy that has, I mean, you look at it. He's got over 20 pro fights. He's only 26 years old, and he continues to add wrinkles into his game that make it difficult for his opponents to try and figure him out.
And I do think that's a great point. He is a very, for lack of a better term, confusing fighter, just because he can fight you at any range. If the fight's on the ground, he has phenomenal submissions. I highly recommend, yes, he loses the fight, but go back and watch that first round of the Sergio Pettis main event that they were both involved in, because Brandon Moreno showed off phenomenal grappling in that. He had the body triangle, which I do think is his best position. If Brandon Moreno is able to get the back of Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval is a phenomenal grappler, he's not going anywhere. Brandon Moreno, we do see it a lot nowadays, not with Moreno, he's one of the few exceptions who doesn't, but people who get on the back, they're able to kind of get too high on it and get themselves bucked off, where Brandon Moreno has a really good awareness of where his body is at all times. He's really good at getting that triangle on, puts it on either side, and he's great at making adjustments on the ground. Now, Askar Askarov, another guy who Craig was very hyped about before I was, yes, that fight ended up being a draw. I truly believe Brandon Moreno won that fight. Askarov had his moments. He looked good, and it was a phenomenal UFC debut. Brandon Moreno out-grappled him, though, and for you to go out there and out-grapple Askar Askarov is extremely impressive. And not just out-grapple him, he had him in a lot of danger, especially threatened with those chokes on the back. So the fact that I've seen him out-grapple really high-level grapplers gives me a lot of confidence. But Brandon Royval fights very identical to one of the top contenders at 155. That man's Charles Oliveira, and no, he doesn't really have, this is going to set, I'm definitely going to get made fun of for this. When Charles Oliveira fights, it's a very beautiful thing to watch. You know, he's very flashy. It's not all brute strength and everything. It's this like really nice technique. And on the ground, his jiu-jitsu is, it's not brute force.
You know how Bruce Lee said flow? Like water? That's how Charles Oliveira fights.
Exactly. And Brandon Royval, kind of a smaller version now. Yes, he is a little bit more reckless and he will run in because he has good power for the 125-pound division. And just a bit of a side note, 125 might not even barely have 15 fighters. They are 15 very exciting fighters, though. Like, everyone right now in the division, I would say, is in that kind of elite category. Like, Brandon Royval, even if he loses this fight, if he gets 3 more wins, I would still like to see him fight Deiveson Figueiredo, and same vice versa for Moreno. Let's say he loses this, goes back, gets a few nice wins, shows that he's reinvented himself. I do think it is not a fast track back to the title if you do lose, but I do think that a loss for either one of these guys at this stage in the career isn't the end of the world, and I do think that they can both grow a lot from it. I know Brandon Moreno's on his second chance in the UFC, but again, we've seen, especially in his second run back, the improvements that he's been able to make. His striking the first go was not good. He was very, I just throw punches to get into the clinch and I'll try to take you down. But as we've seen in this last outing, like, he outstruck Jussier Formiga for a lot of their fight. He outstruck Askar Askarov parts of their fight, and these are high-level guys, so I do think Brandon Moreno's been able to show a lot of advancements. The question really comes down to, if the fight hits the mat, can he deal with the black belt of Brandon Royval? And can his Can his style sort of confuse Brandon Royval on the mat? Or can Brandon Royval go out there, land those elbows, land those straight shots, keep this a kickboxing fight where, yes, Moreno's made advances in his striking, but I still don't think he's on the same level as Brandon Royval.
And I mean, for Brandon Royval, you look at his losses. Ben Von Bauer, lost by decision. Ricky Palacios, lost by decision. Nick Urso, same thing. And then against Casey Kenny, you're losing by decision. But I mean, you've seen what Casey Kenny can do. You saw that Nathaniel Wood fight. For Brandon Royval, though, I mean, you look at the win that he had against Tim Elliott in the debut, and that was such a good fight. And he was coming in on such a nice win streak. You look at the fight against Joby Sanchez, a guy that was at one point in the UFC. The win over Nate Williams. And then again, going in there against Tim Elliott, having been matched up against Jared Scoggin, supposed to happen the end of last year. Of course, it didn't. But he gets that fight against Tim Elliott and looks great. And then he comes in and takes on Kai Kara France in a fight where, hey, it's style versus style, and you're going to get a clash of them. And you had Brandon Royval just proving the doubters wrong in the fact that Kai Kara France was going to have the much better advantage on the feet. Royval coming out of Factory X Muay Thai, let's just keep those hands nice and high. Let's just throw that nice hook there from the southpaw stance and just hammer away at it. And Brandon Royval looked amazing in that fight. You got both guys rocked. You got Royval ending up getting the win by guillotine in the second round. And again, Brandon Moreno is the type of guy that can really mess up the game plan of a lot of different fighters. Brandon Royval, though, seems to be the fighter that just, if a game plan is, I'm going takedown heavy, he can abandon that. And he doesn't have to stick to just one thing or another.
100%. And when it comes to grit, these two fighters have it in droves. Because Brandon Moreno, we've seen him in bad positions and come back. We've seen the same thing from Royval. The Kai Kara France fight, He dropped Royval with the first punch that he threw, and then Royval dropped him with a spinning elbow 5 seconds later. So both these guys will invite the brawl. It's a very fan-friendly style. It's a very hard fight to pick just because on the feet, could Moreno out-volume Brandon Royval? Of course he could. Could Royval outpower Moreno and really make him pay for those longer exchanges? Of course he could. And on the mat, there's just so many questions because guys are at such a high level in the grappling department that it's a hard pick. And I've been going back and forth all week.
I have to say one more thing on this fight, too, because Brandon Royval is one of the bigger guys you're going to see at flyweight. Really big frame. You see it there, 5'9", 68 inches of reach. Brandon Moreno, the Assassin Baby, is no small guy for the flyweight division. I mean, couple inches in height. He's got a couple inches in reach. So, very evenly matched. This is a great fight. Again, it's a shame that we didn't get Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. It's also a shame that we didn't get Alex Perez and Brandon Moreno.
But here, 255?
Here we are in a fight that, Matt, you had as your fight of the night.
Without a doubt.
I'm very excited for this. Let's just, before we get into the nitty-gritty, the odds on this one. Brandon Royval open a plus 176 average underdog on best fight odds. He's now at a plus 153. For Brandon Moreno, opened up a minus 213. He's now at a minus 184. And if we have a look at the Tapology votes, Matt, out of 479 votes, 59% Moreno, 83% have him to win by decision. What are you thinking on this one?
I was choosing Moreno all week. I was choosing Moreno all day, up until about half an hour ago. And then I started really thinking, and I thought, okay, if the fight's on the feet for 15 minutes, who's going to win? Brandon Royval. If the fight's on the ground for 15 minutes, who's going to win? Maybe Brandon Moreno? And it comes down to the wrestling, in which neither guy really has exceptional wrestling. They're two very good strikers. They're two very good grapplers as well. But I would say the wrestling for both guys, kind of their weak point. I would give the edge to Brandon Moreno. I think he does have slightly better wrestling because we know when he crashes forward with some of those combos, he can loop that into a really nice double leg. So I'll give the slight wrestling advantage to Moreno. But I do think that for Brandon Royval on the feet, the power advantage that he has, and really just the striking advantage, is going to give Moreno a lot of problems. Or Moreno, goodness. A lot of Brandons. I do think Brandon Royval, though, on the feet, his advantage is quite sizable, and he should be able to get this done.
Matt, Brandon will win this fight. That much is true, and hopefully it doesn't fall out. So, knock wood, I just jinxed it. But overall, I mean, for fight of the night, like, I have Daniel Rodriguez, Nicolas Dalby. I wouldn't slate anybody for picking this one as fight of the night, and I wouldn't be upset if you're taking Moreno or Royval. It's a tough one. Again, I said future champ Brandon Moreno by the end of 2020. It's probably not going to happen now. And I give a slight edge to Brandon Royval on this one, Matt. Because, again, we look at methods of victory. Brandon Moreno is so slippery. I think his wrestling's actually quite a bit better than you might have given him credit for. And, again, you're a big Moreno guy. I think his wrestling's quite good. He definitely has finishing abilities, and he has great scrambles. Brandon Royval's fought a fighter who's similar but on a decline in Tim Elliott, and he looked amazing in that one. He's fought a good striker in Kai Kara France that has brought a diverse skill set. I think he holds just slight advantages in certain positions. I like his jiu-jitsu a little bit more, and I really like the power advantage on the feet. I'm going to side with you in the underdog here in Brandon Royval, and I'm going to look to that line as it moves on during the week. You're not going to want to miss question mark kicks on Saturday, because we'll give a little bit more of a preview on this one. We'll have some more talking points as well. That comment section fills up like a map.
It does.
So make sure you head into that. Check out question mark kicks on Saturday. We both have Brandon Royval in this one to get the win in the underdog. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, man, as we always say.
Let's get into it.